Malware is a non-technical look at the tech news of the week.
This is a podcast where we learn together about everything from crypto to AI to whatever comes next in tech. I'm Natasha Hoskins.
I'm Dina Burke.
And this is Boys Club.
Wait, is it just Boys Club?
It's just Boys Club.
The Boys Club podcast?
No. Just Boys Club.
Hey.
Hi. How's it going?
Malware is coming out a day early.
Because there was exciting news that happened yesterday.
Emergency pod.
We've had so many emergency pods this week. I'm in Nashville, and we had a crazy morning with the Grimace and McDonald's of it all. So Malware is a non-technical look at the tech and tech-adjacent news from the week. This week, we're talking about the Grimace Solana token, the DNC's influencer TikTok strategy, and then we do some quick hits on some fun topics that range from Joe Rogan to Alex Cooper.
What more could you want?
Exactly.
Enjoy.
Hot day in crypto.
Exciting morning at Boys Club HQ.
I'm sorry that I fumbled your generational wealth by you having to pick me up at the airport.
Honestly, it was a blessing. In hindsight, it was a blessing. For context.
So you're welcome.
For listeners, there was a big event that happened on social media this morning. The McDonald's appeared to launch a Solana meme coin through their social media accounts. They dropped a token address that was a Solana meme coin that was launched on Pump.fun called Grimace. It turned out to be a hack. Grimace is some sort of iconic figure in the McDonald's world building
universe.
So Grimace meme coin launched this morning, a very sophisticated way in which it was launched, which was initially via Guillaume Huyn's social media account. He is the senior marketing director for McDonald's and is very active on Twitter.
He's kind of famous. Like, people look to him. He's a figure, I would say, in marketing circles.
In marketing circles, exactly. And he's not a public figure, but he's known in marketing circles and is a very online person. So the first thing that happened is that he tweeted that
Quote, there were air quotes for the listener.
That he tweeted, didn't end up being him, but his Twitter account posted that McDonald's was doing a Grimace thing. And he was like, watch the space. Part of the phrasing was, any updates, check the McDonald's official account. Like, any further updates will come from the McDonald's official account. So like, that seemed
sophisticated.
That was a legitimate way to start it. And then they dropped the token address in that tweet. And then the McDonald's Instagram account, which has 5.1 million followers, posted about it, the Grimace coin. And the energy was electric. At
the
Boys
energy,
Club
it was
HQ.
frantic. My plane was landing and I was on a raw dog flight. The Nashville to New York City flight does not have any Wi-Fi. And every single time you and I are like, it didn't have Wi-Fi. It's never once had Wi-Fi. And we've done this flight 100 times.
It just doesn't have Wi-Fi. It just doesn't have Wi-Fi. Like,
it just doesn't have Wi-Fi. Yeah, it like literally doesn't. So I was doing that thing where you turn off airplane mode when you're like not landed, but you're hoping to some aura of your signal will ping through some notification. And that's where I was at. And the Slack was going off and you were like, it's pumping. These numbers are accurate now. And I was like, what's going on? I was just like, what's happening?
Well, I think mostly why it was because this is Kate's.
Oh, she was like, this is her Olympics.
This is her moment. It's
the Super Bowl.
It's the intersection of Kate and Kate that we found ourselves at this morning.
Have you seen the Seinfeld where Kramer is downtown and they're never downtown, and he calls Jerry and he's like, I need you to come get me. And he was like, where are you? And he was like, I'm at the intersection of First and First. Like, he can't handle it.
You gotta move or it's over. Well, what happened? I think it's over. We had a big fight. She threw me out. I started walking, and now I'm lost downtown. I don't have any money. I don't recognize anybody. I miss home. I don't even know how to get there. What's around you? I'm looking at Ray's Pizza. You know where that is? Is it Famous Ray's? No, it's Original Ray's. Famous Original Ray's? It's just original, Jerry. Well, what street are you on? Okay, I'm on First and First. How can the same street intersect with itself? It must be at the nexus of the universe. Just wait there, I'll pick you up. And Kramer, stay alive. No matter what occurs, I will find you.
And that's what I feel like is happening to Kate today.
Poor Kate. We're like the Slack just on fire. So I'm like, Kate, this is your moment. This is your time.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take the story. You have to break it. And she's like, put me in, coach.
She's like, I'm putting on all my McDonald's paraphernalia right now.
And so for the listener who doesn't have context on Kate, you must get context on Kate, but she's a huge genuine McDonald's fan and worked there for many years, has all the stuff, and just loves the brand and genuinely like loves it and knows all the lore and has all the stuff, and again worked there for many years and now works in crypto with us. And so anyway, that was sort of the backstory there. So I'm like, Kate, now's the time. But also we were looking at it and we're like, this does look a little suspicious. Let's be honest. I don't know that McDonald's is willing to risk what they'd be risking with SEC by putting out a meme coin. And so it started to look suspicious. And there's a newsroom clip that I want to cut into this podcast, which is basically like a really like overly dramatic segment where he is like deciding whether or not to break the news. And the anchor, he basically doesn't end up breaking the news, and they find out like, anyway, I'll clip it here. It's so funny. But
is he overhearing it, or is he at the hospital?
She's alive.
Who's telling you that?
The anesthesiologist. She's being prepped for surgery.
I've got her alive. NPR called it wrong. She's alive.
She's alive.
Well,
all right, we're learning now that Giffords is being prepped for surgery, and we have our ACN affiliate at University.
We didn't want to go out with something and then find out that it was hacked.
Right.
Of course, because we're a legitimate.
We're a newsroom.
So we start getting some feelings that maybe it wasn't right. And I'm like, Kate, DM Guillaume for comment. Like, comment from him. Anyway, it was a hack, but...
Very sophisticated hack.
Very sophisticated hack. Yeah, they knew what they were doing. I do want to say congratulations to the unnamed friend of the pod here who Forexed on the trade.
Forexed. And I will say in this group chat, they said, is this real? And you responded, yes. And then they were like, great. And they went for it. And that is a wild move on both of your parts.
I know. One just quick note on Pumped Up Fun. It has done $100 million in revenue in the past 8 months since it launched.
Must be nice. I can't even be on that website. It's so stressful.
It's insane. It's an insane website, but
it's an insane person website for sure.
You know, you have those friends that you hear from them and they're just like messing problematic. Like every time you hear from them, you're like, oh, something's happened. And it's
crisis,
like that
crisis person.
Yeah. That's what Pumped Up Fun is. Like every time there's like, there's a hack, I'm like, oh, it's Pumped Up Fun.
That's just how they are. That's just what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So there's been 1.8 million meme coins that have been launched on Pumped Up Fun.
Wow.
They get a 1% fee on all transactions, the selling and the buying. And it is a cash printer, basically.
Wow. Cool. What were the numbers on Grimace? Like how much volume were we working with?
$700,000 in volume, which is what I saw. But the block was reporting 25 million market cap.
Seems wrong.
I couldn't get there with that. The market cap that I saw was like $800,000. The hacker apparently made about that because they basically took all the tokens and pumped it and like spread it across wallets and then dumped it. Oof. So the hacker made that, and our friend who Forexed made some cash, and that's about it.
There were some winners. And there's lots of losers, as there always are. Also, the hack then went really dark. The official McDonald's account had their bio changed to racist slurs. It got really weird and bad.
Really
disgusting.
Weird and disgusting and dark. And
yeah,
also not at all surprising given.
Can you imagine what it's like at McDonald's HQ right now? Whew. Someone is getting fired.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
That's that.
Another day in crypto. Okay, changing gears here. I'm going to go political.
Can't wait.
Not really, but I'm just reporting on the Democratic National Convention bringing in TikTok creators. The DNC happened August 19th to August 22nd in Chicago. And for those who don't know, the convention is where the delegates of the Democratic Party go to cast their official vote for the nominee for the presidential election. So it's basically like pomp and circumstance and ceremony and campaigning for whoever the nominee is going to be. So to officially confirm Kamala and Walz as the pick for the 2024 presidential election. So what's interesting about this year, and what I have actually noticed on my channels as well, my just personal channels is that the Democratic Party brought 200 content creators and influencers to attend. This is the first time that they have had this strategy, the Democratic Party. And it's essentially an attempt to bring in TikTokers, YouTubers, and attract millions of young voters to get Democratic propaganda. I'm a Democrat, so I can say that. Democratic propaganda through the channels that they're already watching. So a huge demonstration of how much the media landscape has changed since the 2016 election. Basically ever. It's unprecedented to have this type of access for essentially like 19-year-old TikTok creators to have their own section. There's quite a bit of drama actually between journalists, traditional journalists, and these creators, because the journalists are saying like, we're being treated really poorly. We have terrible conditions. They're super pissed because they've made room for these content creators and they have their own areas. They have like areas where they can set up their TikTok light. They can do all this stuff so that they can report on what's happening. And so here's a Rutgers quote. The besieged journalism industry, which has lost tens of thousands of jobs from cost cutting and consolidation over more than a decade, had its space at the convention slashed compared to previous conventions, according to a Pew study. There's two ways to look at this.
Oh God, the journalist being like pissed at the content creators. I'm sorry.
That's fine. You can feel however you want about it. I don't really care. That's fine. My take is you're looking at two forms of media, obviously. You're looking at traditional media. They have fact checking. There's all these checks and balances. You can trust, for the most part, I don't know, unless you're Joe Rogan, you can trust that there are factual information coming from these sources. And then you have fast, speed of light, in the moment content creation that's happening with these young creators. And I think it's really smart, and I think it's very cool that they've done this. I just think I have a constant fear, especially in election cycles, around media literacy and the intake of information, where most people and most young people are getting their news from TikTok, and how even if that information is accurate, you're teaching yourself and you are conditioning yourself to have that be your main source of information. And that is legitimately how people get radicalized. And so it's a little concerning, but I do think the strategy is great for this election cycle. And a few things here. Adam Faze of Gymnasium wrote in Emily Seidenberg's newsletter, Feed Me. All of these people are very talented people. If you don't know them, you should go and follow them, and you should definitely subscribe to Emily Seidenberg's newsletter. It's excellent. And this is a quote from that. He's there. He's one of the content creators that is on the ground for the DNC, and actually one of the people that I was like, oh, crazy, like the DNC is happening, because he was posting about it. Also, Emmett Shine is there, and he's been posting about it.
So Pop Base is there.
Pop Base, huge get for the DNC. So this is a quote from Adam Faze on the ground at the DNC. He said, I always say you can best track the changes in media consumption through election cycles. In 2008, Jon Stewart was the most important voice for young people. By 2020, Obama was going on between two firms on Funny or Die. By 2016, memes had taken over, but late night television still had enough relevance where Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers showing emotion over Trump's win meant something. Flash forward to today, and Trump is going on Aiden Ross, and the DNC has over 200 creators in attendance. The power balance has completely shifted. The mainstream media of today isn't TV, it's TikTok, which is his bit, and he's pumping his bags on this one. But I do agree that there is a very distinct shift in the strategy of these two parties this year, knowing that first line of defense on information is TikTok, and it's not like Fox News for most young voters. Some highlights here, internet highlights that I've seen from the DNC that I've really enjoyed. Lil Wayne performing Turn Down for What for the Georgia delegation. Wild move.
People like that.
People liked it. I don't know that I liked it. I was just like, is this a joke? Like, are we joking? Obama making like a penis joke? Crazy. Did you see this?
I didn't see it.
Okay, in his speech, he had a great speech, as
Of
always.
course.
Love him.
Yep.
I don't love him more. And he was like, his weird obsession with crowd sizes. But when he talked about size, it was like a penis motion of size. And the crowd loved it. And Michelle Obama just crushed it. She is so amazing and eloquent and beautiful and smart and all the things. And then the internet is my internet at least, is absolutely obsessed with Jack Schlossenberg. He is JFK's he is
Grandson.
JFK was his godfather.
Oh,
grandfather.
Grandfather.
Wait, he is JFK's grandson. And he did a speech And I have been following him since his Vogue article because someone sent it to me and was like, I'm in love with this man. And he is so charming and just delightful and just like a snack. He's a snack. The best. Fodder. Him at the DNC is fodder for women everywhere, I would say.
I think all genders. I think he appeals.
People.
Humans.
Humans. I don't discriminate. Has it been on your internet or no?
Yeah, totally. I'm not like gonna stop my scroll on him personally.
Oh my gosh.
But
have you watched some of his
Of
videos?
course. I've seen them all.
Okay.
He's very funny. I get it. It just isn't, it's not for me personally. I also just want to say extremely rich and extremely hilarious that the story is around mainstream media versus creators and the risks on giving too much credence to creators. After we just talked about how I almost fucked everything by validating the Grimace launch.
Oh my God, I didn't even put two and two together. Pot kettle.
Kettle. Big time.
Okay.
That's that.
That's that.
From Idris Elba to Stripe to the Central Bank of Brazil, the 6th annual Stellar Meridian Conference in London has the range. Join policymakers, investors, builders, and more on October 15th through 17th in London to talk about how crypto is transforming everyday financial services right now. Tickets are going fast, so get yours now at meridian.stellar.org.
There's some quick hits here. Just some things in the news that we're going to report on.
Yeah, the first one here, really not much of a story, except it's really just a single TikTok.
Mm-hmm. It's a single TikTok that you had seen and then you watched with me on 2x speed, which I was like, it's going too fast.
I've never done increased speed on things before, but then I was listening in my home to the Joe Rogan podcast and my husband walked in and he was like, how can you not be listening to that on like 1.5 speed?
At least.
Yeah,
minimum.
at least. And so then I started listening to that on, anyway, so now I'm hooked. But yeah, so one TikTok.
A single
TikToker has.
Trend spotting. You're trend spotting.
Has said, but it's a really funny story. Basically, she has Airbnbs and she was talking about like weird rules she has for her Airbnbs. And one weird rule that she has was a result of an incident that occurred where she had this renter who was like a great tenant, 5 stars.
3 weeks was there.
3 weeks, but left the place immaculate. And then I like didn't think anything of it. And then she got her electricity bill. And it was like $1,500 or something for that 3-week period. And then she looked at the security cameras of the people that were renting and leaving, and she saw them taking out 10 computers. And then found out that they were mining crypto from her Airbnb and that it was cheaper to rent an Airbnb and
arbitrage. There was an
arb moment.
Arb for short.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting tip for people. I don't know. Don't do that.
Do that.
That's not kind.
It's antisocial behavior.
It's antisocial, exactly. Okay, the next one, Alex Cooper. For those of you who do not know who Alex Cooper is, she is the host and creator of a podcast called Call Her Daddy and a podcast network called The Unwell Network. And she is famous. She's very famous. She just inked a deal. In 2021, she had a 3-year Spotify deal valued at around $60 million. She had originally started at Barstool Sports. There's a lot of drama there. It's a very interesting story. If anybody wants to break it down, give me a call.
Part of the drama and the story with her was that she cut her co-host out of the deal.
She cut her out of the deal, which was the smart thing to do. But I would never do that to you. But in her case,
okay, red flag.
Anyway, a salacious story with her and Dave Portnoy and Portnoy. I always say his name wrong. I don't know.
Portnoy, I think it is.
Portnoy.
I'd love to hear an acquired style podcast deep dive on the Call Her Daddy.
The reason why we're talking about it today is that it was just announced her Spotify deal has closed and she's signed with Sirius XM Radio for a 3-year deal that is rumored to be at $125 million. So here's a quote here. SiriusXM will replace Spotify as Cooper's distribution and advertising partner. SiriusXM will have exclusive rights for advertising, distribution, content, events, and more for Cooper's flagship Call Her Daddy podcast, as well as the lineup of shows from her Unwell Audio network. Call Her Daddy will continue to be available for Spotify listeners, which is crazy to me. It's not even like an exclusive deal. Happy for her. And one of the questions that came up at Boys Club HQ was like, wow, SiriusXM, what kind of money you got rolling around over there? In 2023, they did almost $9 billion in revenue. That's crazy.
That's crazy to me. And my theory on this, having done zero research, but my intuition is
Tell me.
that when I bought my Kia, there's a year free that you get of Sirius. And so they're just bulk selling. They're not selling in individual like subscriptions. I think, sure. But it's like, yeah, they're selling it into Honda, they're selling it into Kia, and
it's a B2B move.
B2B play, and like probably makes up, if I were to guess, like 85% of their subscription base.
Whoa, you think that high?
Yeah, I do. I don't know anyone that subscribes to SiriusXM.
I know quite a few people, and
You
know why?
do?
Yeah, totally.
Who?
Okay, I know 3 people off the top of my head
Okay.
that I can think of. One does it for country music stuff.
Okay.
One does it for the Garth Brooks radio.
Okay.
He has a radio station.
Okay.
And
I was wondering what Garth
she
Brooks
doesn't.
was up to. And
He's exclusive. I'm sure
SiriusXM.
he got a massive deal. I'm
Okay.
sure it was $100 million plus deal too.
he's huge, but also is in many ways post money. I think he's that big.
He's post money.
Yeah.
He's post money. Totally. Oh man, I would love to be post money. And third, Howard Stern. People who subscribe for Howard Stern.
You have friends who subscribe for Howard Stern?
I have a friend I can think of who subscribes for Howard Stern.
Wow.
Honestly, I would if I had a car. I love Howard Stern. I think he's a great.
I know very little about Howard Stern, but I listen to Spotify when I'm in the car.
Totally. I don't listen to SiriusXM. I don't even have a car, so I'm not involved in this. But I'm really happy for her. I would love for her to. I would love to be her. Is all I'm trying to say. So anyway, intersection of media and tech here.
Here we are.
What's the next one?
Oh, the next one I really like. It's people using ChatGPT to verify the heights of their like Bumble and Tinder and Raya dates. Basically, you upload the photos into ChatGPT from their profile and you say, how tall is this person, basically? And
That's so great. That's so smart.
like can take it from a series of photos to be like, this person's 5'10".
That is really smart because I've heard Raya doesn't have height. So it's a big issue for a lot of people with that app. So just fire up ChatGPT is the answer.
Yeah, fire it up, upload the photos, and then see what they say. Just ingenious use case.
Ingenuity that excites. The last one here, we had scoped out a full episode of one of our core principles here at Boys Club is Boys Club did this so you don't have to. Like we watched this show or we listened to this podcast or we went to this conference or whatever. And you did, but I couldn't, going to do the Joe Rogan Peter Thiel episode. 211 minutes. That is a lot of time.
A lot of time.
That's a lot of time on this planet listening to Joe Rogan. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Peter Thiel is one of the co-founders of PayPal, co-founder of Palantir, partner at Founders Fund, and a decorated man.
So just to finish that thought, we are not doing the episode.
We're not. We're just going to, we couldn't. I was like, I started listening to it and I know whatever, Peter Thiel is like God level in the tech community and he should be very well respected. But this is my podcast, so I can say whatever I want. And listening to the two of them, the only thing I could think is two bitches telling each other exactly. Like that's the only thing I could think the whole time. And that's not on Peter Thiel. That's just like Joe Rogan is a fucking idiot. And like I cannot listen to him.
Yeah. I think Peter Thiel is very decorated, very well respected. Not an unproblematic man.
I think very problematic.
Very problematic, yeah.
Yeah.
But also is a really interesting figure and really smart. My impression of listening to Joe Rogan was, you know, when you get caught in a conversation with like, you're at like a backyard barbecue with, you like get caught in a conversation with someone or you get caught in a conversation with like a neighbor who's like maybe a little crazy.
Yeah,
and
that's him.
That's what I felt like when I was listening to Joe Rogan. I was like, oh, I'm
3 hours of it.
I'm caught in this conversation with someone who does not know what they're talking about. And who also doesn't care. Like, no humility around the fact that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Brazen in his stupidity. Also, just like get an editor. Like, I know it's the point, but there is so much that does not need to be.
I think people like that.
Oh my gosh, it's not for me. It's not for me at all. But at one point they were talking about like how hot it gets in Austin, and he goes, yeah, you know, I sauna all the time. I don't even notice it anymore. And he was like, I'm out there for 3-4 hours just throwing darts in the middle of heat. And I'm like, what are you even talking about?
I
Like,
know.
who are you?
I know.
Who is this person? Anyway, he upsets me. But one thing that was interesting is they were talking about basically how bad the taxes were in California. The first 45 minutes were just about how bad taxes are in California and what people can do about it.
Which unfortunately is a topic of conversation that I am really drawn to.
Okay, that's great.
It's unfortunately for everyone else in my life because it's something that I'm always wanting to talk about is state taxes. So I found the first 40 minutes to be really interesting. The second half where they're talking about the Kennedy assassination, I'm like, it's 2024. What are we doing spending 30 minutes talking about Kennedy assassination conspiracy theories?
Crazy.
Crazy. Also a crazy thing to talk about with Peter Thiel.
And they didn't talk about tech really at all.
A little AI, yeah.
About 20 minutes in, they were talking about how the tech culture has affected San Francisco, how industries in specific cities affect the culture of that city. So I'm just going to read some of the transcript here because I do think this is kind of interesting. You know, I had, man, reading this transcript is impossible. It's impossible. It's so
think let's just sum it up.
Oh my gosh. I'm really trying. Anyway, I don't even know that actually this is, now that I'm reading the transcript of it, I don't even know that it's that smart. He's basically just saying AI is centralized and crypto's decentralized. Like, that's it.
Kind of, and then its impact on the Bay Area was, I think, what the point that he was trying to land. There was a moment where you could have lived outside of the Bay Area and worked in tech.
Yeah.
And now,
because of the AI.
Because of AI stuff, you kind of have to be there if you want to be at the very cutting edge of what's happening with the current narrative around AI.
Anything else from the back half that I couldn't listen to?
They talked a lot about conspiracy theories. They talked a lot about aliens and UFOs. They talked a lot about pyramids.
Pyramids?
The pyramids.
Like the Egyptian pyramids?
Yeah. Seriously, like a lot about that.
My main core question, why did Peter Thiel go? Like he does not need to do this.
I know he does not need.
So strange.
He does not need to. They talked about Epstein and theories around that. I will say Peter Thiel did have kind of an interesting take on the Epstein stuff. For the record, I have no context on Epstein and Thiel and Rogan. I don't know any of the backstory on any of those players.
Nightmare blunt rotation.
Seriously. But Joe Rogan wants to talk about conspiracies, essentially gossip. Like that's like the level that he gets into is like talking about the individual. And Peter Thiel was always trying to like zoom out to talk about these bigger sort of structures and systems that are
cultural, societal issues.
Yeah. And that was really evident in the Epstein conversation because Joe Rogan kept wanting to like get in the mud.
Joe Rogan wants the tea.
Exactly. And Peter Thiel was basically talking about how his theory around the Epstein stuff is, and this is a little Games of Thrones-y, but I could see a world where this is happening, where he kept talking about this idea of like compromat. And honestly, if I hear anyone use that on Twitter, I'm going to
roast them.
Just shots fired in their direction. But basically, in order to get to this like inner circle of power and money, in this like elite ring, that they need to have something on you to become like a made man. They need to have some dirt on you or something.
Who's they?
The
Illuminati.
The Illuminati. And similar to like in The Sopranos, that if someone in that elite ring has dirt on you, if they have compromat, then they can control you.
Okay.
And you're under their thumb. But also at the same time, you're more likely to rise in power and in ranks because you are a sort of controlled and known entity. And so it's this like ring of power and money that the Epstein stuff is convenient because it's like if you were there and you were in, and I think there was like varying degrees of in that you were. His theory is that that was a way to
garner power,
controlled
because you were like in this weird dynamic with this group that's like, well, I'm here and you're here and we're all here. Then okay, it's so you know,
totally. So that was that.
That was that. Thanks for listening.